Lifeless bodies litter the streets. All the while, a songstress AI designed only to sing carries on with her performance on the main stage of the amusement park called Nearland. In the midst of the chaos, a scientist named Dr. Osamu Matsumoto hurriedly runs through the maze of the Arayashiki radio tower, the main building relaying the communication for the AIs. He hastens to activate an AI named Diva. The professor knows that the task he gives her isn't an easy one. However, he is left with no other choice but to put the burden of 100 years on her shoulders. He presses the button to activate the message, leaving the future in her robotic hands as he is shot by the other robots. In this world, AI were first created for simple jobs and were put through trials to juggle multiple tasks, but all had miserably failed. A mandate was then issued to assign AIs with a single mission per AI. Similarly, Diva was created to captivate humans with her singing, unaware of what the future has in store for her. As a 1-year-old AI, she performs in Nearland to an audience of 3 people. A little girl named Momoka Kirishima waits for her backstage. She applauds Diva's singing and calls her Vivi instead. She wishes that the AI could someday perform on the main stage. Diva doesn't sound hopeful, but Momoka gives her a little pep talk, telling Diva that she has a kind heart, meaning thereby she can achieve her goal if she pours her heart into her singing, and gives her a teddy bear as a birthday present. Diva promises to one day sing on the main stage. As they part ways, Navi, a navigation system, gives her a reality check by reminding her that even though Diva is the first autonomous humanoid in the AI history, she is still an AI, which means that whatever function she carries out has already been programmed into her system. Diva has to perform again, but this time no one is there to watch her. She sees a sort of vision and shuts down. The AI wakes up in the aggregated AI database, the archive. It tells her that her body drive circuit has malfunctioned. She asks for the recovery time, but they get interrupted by a cubic virus. He starts calling her archive texture outdated. Diva tries to tell the archive to get rid of him, but the cube has already turned off Diva, though he claims that her body is unharmed. The cube turns on a screen showing her that she is being carried away. The so-called virus introduces himself by his developer's name, Matsumoto. He has been sent by the same scientist for Diva from the future. Both of them are supposed to go on a mission for the next 100 years to get rid of AIs. Diva wakes up after her maintenance is completed. She does inform the man about a weird program running inside of her. He takes a look at things again, but nothing out of the ordinary comes up. The program still keeps talking to her, boasting about being a super AI of the future. She keeps directing him to get out of her system, but he is adamant on sticking around. Diva keeps scanning for a virus, but nothing's popping up. Matsumoto takes over the body of the teddy bear given by Momoka earlier that day. Matsumoto then displays video and image proof from 100 years into the future. He explains that the AIs around the world went on a rampage, using military force against humans. The figure of the casualties had reached more than 10,000. She gets to see the site of Nyland's main stage destroyed as her successor keeps on singing to a literal dead audience. He again emphasizes on wanting her to team up with him to save the world from the AIs. It's the next day. Assemblyman Yuichi Aikawa visits Nearland. Diva performs to yet another empty audience. Matsumoto is still there, trying to make her understand that he just can't leave her. He's out on a mission. He proposes an idea. If what he is about to show her becomes a reality, then she should listen to him. The bear then shows Aikawa suffering from fractures and burns in the near future because of an explosive planted in a trash can. Matsumoto starts the countdown to the blast and Diva sprints. She finds the shortest route to get there. The AI reaches just in time to get the men out of harm's way as the blast takes place. The park gets sealed and people start to evacuate. Aikawa voices his gratitude for her action and promises to listen to her sing the next time he visits. As he leaves, a security AI informs Diva that all the AIs have to carry out a search for any suspicious-looking items. She checks the main stage system. After it's all clear, she is ordered to stand by. The AI walks up to the main stage, taking in the view. Matsumoto appears from behind to pop the peaceful bubble, saying that this little commotion would seem like nothing 100 years from now. Diva is in a dilemma because she has been created with the purpose to sing. However, Matsumoto asks her if she would want to see these images of the future to happen. She obviously doesn't. He then proceeds to tell her that though things look friendly now, it won't be the same in the future because after a few months, an AI naming law will be enforced, giving AI human rights. This law has a lot to do with the murder of the assemblyman, which is going to take place soon. Matsumoto informs her that after his death in the future, humans rose to take action on enforcing the law so that his death wouldn't be in vain. The program then tells her that he was created with the purpose to help change these events, leading to the rampage that the AIs will bring forth on mankind. The mission has been named by Professor Matsumoto as the Singularity Project. The program informs her that the murder is going to take place this very night. The scene switches to Aikawa assuring someone on the phone that he is doing all right and would like to proceed with the naming law, which will lock in his vote from the AI-affiliated organization. Just then, the power goes out and two men from TOC, an anti-AI terrorist group armed with guns, break into his office. Shots fired, but the man is unharmed thanks to Diva in some guard AI's attire, making it just in time, shielding him one again. Before she comes to his rescue, Matsumoto shows her a video 1 year into the future. Humans and AIs alike were gathered after his death with a promise to walk down together on the path towards prosperity. Though that was not how it turned out to be, so they need to change it. Diva gets hit by the bullet and it damages her body. Matsumoto creates a distraction, giving them the time to escape from the office. TOC thinks that a guard AI is helping the man. The leader of the mission, Kuwana, assigns a newbie named Yugo Kakitani to take command of the unit, as he himself is headed after the supposed guard AI. The TOAC force infiltrates the building from all directions. Aikawa's glasses show him that she is a guard AI because Matsumoto has tampered with them. The man asks to call reinforcement, but Matsumoto interrupts them by stating that they are running out of time, and displays the images of the same building where Aikawa's death took place. The TOC had blown it up, and hardly any parts of Aikawa's body were left behind. This is because TOC wanted to take down the AI company that they are currently. Aikawa being present in it was like killing two birds with one stone. However, it backfired on the terrorist group because his death was the motivation needed to pass the naming law. Matsumoto informs her that they need to exit through the first floor before the terrorist group blows up the whole place. Aikawa is perplexed with the image of a moving teddy bear. Diva starts to escort him towards the exit. They get ambushed by one of the TOC men. Diva tries fighting him off, but it's taking too much of their time, so Matsumoto aids her by launching a few robots at the man. They start running again. Matsumoto tries to install something into her, but she throws him off, telling him not to tamper with her functions, but the program retorts that she can't be trusted with information and could leak it all. They are in the middle of arguing when the TOC men find them. A bullet is fired, but she blocks it with her body yet again. It damages her system as it turns out to be a logical bullet, temporarily shutting her down. Kuwana walks up to an unarmed Aikawa and shoots him, then shoots Diva as well. Blood puddles around them. As the terrorist group installs bombs across the building, the screens all of a sudden flash an error, and the whole building goes into lockdown mode, locking Kwawa outside. As he takes off his goggles, he realizes that there is no blood on his shoes. Aikawa, Diva, and Matsumoto are inside an elevator. The AI program successfully reboots Diva's system. Aikawa asks how he was able to save them. Matsumoto reveals that he had tampered with Kuwana's goggles, making it seem as if he had killed the both of them, when in reality the program had dragged them to safety. As they exit the elevator, they get attacked by the newbie Kakitani with an explosive. Kuwana also arrives with backup and alerts him to take off the goggles before they also get manipulated. Matsumoto activates some of the bombs, blocking the majority of the TOC from getting to them. Aikawa is going crazy with the fear of getting killed in the process. Matsumoto tells them that this is their chance to get out, but Diva being Diva can't let people get hurt. She dashes to save Kakitani from a falling slab of ceiling. It damages her body. They get interrupted by bullets raining on them from the outside by TOC members. Aikawa regrets all of his decisions of trying to pass the law. He confesses that he only wanted more votes and has nothing to do with AI's future. Matsumoto voices his disappointment on Diva's action of saving Kakitani, calling it a bad decision by the professor for leaving the future in her hands. He tells her the reason why she was chosen for the mission. Unlike other AIs, her body as an autonomous AI was the only one standing after 100 years. Matsumoto then tells her that later on she was placed inside a museum for being the first ever humanoid AI, which is why she wasn't present during the AI rampage. He then reminds her that she has sabotaged their plan in the name of her mission of making people happy by singing, but such a thing will lose its meaning when she is stored away at a museum. Diva gets offended upon hearing this. She tells him that to an AI their mission holds the utmost importance. It's not how long they get to operate, but rather how they spend that time operating. Blue liquid oozes out of her body as she pushes the rubble off herself. The TOC men resume shooting. Diva comes up with the idea of collapsing the whole building. They start climbing up the stairs towards the top. She explains on the way that in the image from the future, The news stated that the rendering center, aka the building right next to this, wasn't damaged. They can escape there. Her goal right now is to fulfill the mission. It seems that she has accepted her fate of being more than a songstress AI. Matsumoto activates the bombs again, disabling the lockdown mode. The Toke members evacuate the building. Kakitani is mad about an AI saving his life. The other three make it to the top. They start running as soon as the explosions take place and the building starts to crumble. Diva literally throws Aikawa towards the rendering center. He lands inside the building. Diva runs with super speed, making it out of there in one piece. Matsumoto advises the man to stay out of trouble and keep himself away from the AI naming law. Afterwards, the program shows Diva the Arayashiki AI communication tower, telling her that she needs to stop its growth because the more the tower increases in height, the more development in AI takes place. They shake hands, promising to not alter the future history too much. The scene abruptly changes to Matsumoto hitting her with a crane, repeating what they just promised as she struggles to get to a plane passing overhead. In the future, it was reported that due to malfunctioning, the plane had exploded, and right now she wants to save Momoka because the little girl is on it as well. Matsumoto stops her, reminding her that she can't change every single incident in history. They have to stay focused on preventing the AI war from breaking out. She can only hopelessly watch as the plane explodes like a fireball in the sky. Fast forward 15 years later, Diva sings to a rather packed crowd. She goes for a checkup. An article shows that she is doing well with crowds these days. The AI is in a dilemma of the meaning behind the phrase, putting one's heart into something. She asks Navi about it and the program, as usual, mocks her. To Diva's surprise, Matsumoto is back inside the bear's body. Let's just say she isn't quite pleased to see him. The program updates her on his whereabouts this whole time. Turns out he was in sleep mode to prevent any unnecessary intervention with the future history. Diva is a bit confused because Matsumoto had informed her that if the naming law does not pass, then the course of AI's evolution would change. But another law ended up passing and AIs have significantly developed. So things don't really add up. The program relays that the development can't be stopped. However, the new law was partially her fault because Aikawa was impressed by her that night of the bombing and held on to her words. The program informs her that for now, their next assignment is in outer space. Once human beings started building advanced AIs, they became eager to visit outer space, which led to the creation of hotels in the dark cosmic space. Humans started going on vacations at the hotel named Sunrise, the owner of which happens to be an AI called Estella, a member of the Sisters series, the direct successors of Diva because of their beautiful voices. Matsumoto had pulled some strings and was able to get Diva some minor tasks around the place, under the guise of the name Vivi. Moreover, the sisters are responsible for the crash of the Sunrise Hotel in the near future. The program warns her about Estella being the most grievously defective AI of its time. Inside the archive, Matsumoto shows her the details of Sunrise's crash. Over 4/5 part of the hotel's total mass was already burned in the atmosphere, and the rest of it crashed into the Earth's ocean. Those who weren't able to evacuate paid the price with their lives. This disastrous crash soon led to an outrage and hatred from the general public towards the AIs, which in turn aided Toak's mission. Now Diva's job is to destroy Estella to stop her from causing any harm to the hotel. Diva tries to reason that maybe the AI was bugged and they shouldn't jump to conclusions. This irritates the program, but they get interrupted by one of the AIs named Leclerc, alerting Diva to activate her gravity. Estella is busy entertaining the kids. Leclerc informs Diva that the owner of the hotel has been doing this for 7 years now. The same goes for herself. She warns Diva to keep a distance from Estella because that AI is rumored to have killed the previous owner before taking over the hotel. Later, Diva starts snooping around. She follows Estella. When the coast is clear, she enters the AI's room, scanning a photo frame. The man in the middle, the former owner of the hotel, is also present in it. Matsumoto startles her from behind. He reminds her that they are left with 23 hours and 17 minutes before the hotel turns into a fireball. There isn't any room for delay, but Diva is persistent on finding evidence. At that moment, Estella walks in on them. The program makes the bear go limp, giving it the impression of a simple toy. Estella questions her presence in her room. Diva quickly forms an excuse for retrieving a guest's item, aka Matsumoto. She asks about the photo. Estella informs her that it was taken 7 years ago, and the owner shortly died after in an accident. Estella then elaborates on taking permission from the deceased owner's family to continue with the hotel, and since she was already designated as a caretaker AI, The task wasn't difficult. She cherishes that time spent with him and wants to continue working at sunrise. Then out of nowhere, Diva asks her about the meaning of pouring your heart into something. To Estella, it's when the guests are happy and smiling. Diva really appreciates her definition. Just then, an alarm starts blaring, alerting everyone. Estella hurriedly runs a scan on the computer, but nothing unusual comes up. She calmly informs them that there was a slight malfunction in the alarm system, and until things are thoroughly looked into, they can enjoy the view outside. The ceiling shutters open to reveal a mesmerizing cosmic sight. Diva gets stopped by a guest informing her that she is Momoka's younger sister, named Yuzuka Kirishima. Meanwhile, Leclerc gives Estella something, and as soon as she turns around, the AI rips her head off, destroying her instantly. Yuzuka shows Diva a book from her sister's belongings, but the AI acts as if the girl has confused her with some other AI. Soon after, a blast is heard. Estella tells the staff to check out from where the malfunctioning is happening, though her broadcast gets cut off. A moment later, another blast is heard. Matsumoto informs Diva that they have lost control, and she should hurry towards the control room. Diva decides to escort the girl to safety first. They meet Estella on the way. Diva notices that her wristband is missing. The AI attacks her, damaging her arm. Diva thinks that she has been manipulated, though she denies being Estella. Diva escapes with Yuzuka. The latter informs her master, aka Kakitani, about Diva's escape. Turns out the imposter Estella was right. The real Estella has been paralyzed by the intruders. Matsumoto informs Diva that the fingerprints from 15 years have appeared in the data again. This means that Estella was after all not behind the crash. The culprit happens to be the TOAC organization. Diva hides Yuzuka in an anti-gravity room, but to the girl's horror, Leclerc's head floats in front of her eyes. Diva activates the gravity button. Matsumoto joins them. She requests for the anti-personnel combat program, which helps her fight. The AI then tells Yuzuka to stay hidden until danger subsides. Diva takes Leclerc's arm, replacing it with her own, damaged one. She promises to take Yuzuka back to Earth no matter what it takes. Matsumoto follows through with the request of activating her combat mode. Diva takes down 3 of the TOAC members, not even giving them the chance to fight back. She is determined to carry out the Singularity mission. She finds the real Estella in her room and reboots her. The latter freaks out, remembering the terrorists. Dava informs her that they have taken over the controls. Estella relays that it's not possible because she's the only AI wired to have access to it. Then the realization hits her that the only thing identical to her is her twin sister AI named Elizabeth. When they were created, Estella was told that her mission was to be a lifekeeper. The scientists had given them separate names, voices, and hair to tell them apart. Their consciousness was shared, though only Estella could move her body freely. The scientists wanted to see if Elizabeth could copy her body movements in the exact same manner as Estella. If possible, then it would mean that the experiment was a success. However, Estella never got the chance to see Elizabeth because she was disposed of after 6 months of trials. However, she is certain that the twin is back and is responsible for taking over the controls of the ship. The scene changes to Elizabeth doing exactly that. The terrorist makes her announce the evacuation of the people on the ship. The aim is to make the people on Earth realize that leaving controls in the hands of an AI is a mistake. Kakitani then proceeds to thank everyone for carrying out the mission so well. He then tells Elizabeth that he'd made the right choice of taking her 7 years ago. She doesn't want them to sacrifice their lives just to prove this point to humanity. But the man isn't going back on his words. He notices Estella and Diva on the screen and decides to sort things out himself. However, Estella doesn't let him. She swiftly sedates him and tells the rest that she'll handle things herself. The other 2 AIs encounter her lurking in the dark. She explains that she was able to gain complete control of the ship thanks to Leclerc. Elizabeth had lied to her about Estella being the reason behind the ex-owner's death. After that, the AI had willingly given Elizabeth all the information needed. Matsumoto reminds Diva that they are short on time. This is all she needs to hear before she goes into combat mode. Elizabeth blocks her attacks. Matsumoto uses a reformatting virus on the twin, botching her system. Estella wants to know why the twin would want to take over the ship. She relays that unlike herself, Estella had a mission of being a lifekeeper. Now that she finally has one of her own, she is going to serve her master no matter what. Taking out a knife, she attacks Estella, but gets blocked by Diva. They start one-on-one combat again. Elizabeth's anger doesn't subside. She is determined to terminate them. Diva stops the knife from digging into her body. Elizabeth gets distracted by Estella's presence and goes to attack her next, but Diva throws her off and butt-heads her, knocking her unconscious. Estella and Diva then run towards the control room, but the ship has already started to descend. It can't be turned around at the trajectory it is already on. Estella informs them that it's about to hit a coastal city. Matsumoto is confused because it was supposed to be the ocean as recorded in the future history. Estella quickly comes up with the idea of Diva evacuating the guests, and Estella will detach the ship into as many small fragments as it will allow her, with the hope that the parts burn in space before hitting the city. She makes it clear that this is her mission, and now that her sister is also on board, she needs to complete it. Estella reminds Diva that they live for their mission, and this is what needs to be done. Diva reluctantly agrees and evacuates with the guests on board. Estella is still inside the control room. She regrets not saving her little sister again. Speaking of the AI, she is still standing. Elizabeth joins her, understanding that this is the first and the last mission they will be able to perform together. She gets Estella off the floor, telling her to smile and rid herself of the anxiousness that she is feeling. They get to their task at hand as fire engulfs everything around them. Estella leaves one last message to the evacuees. She apologizes for all the inconvenience caused to them and proceeds to open the shutters around them, showing them the sight of Earth coming into view, assuring that they are steadily approaching it. Elizabeth starts to sing in the background, providing a serene atmosphere, unbeknownst to the guests that both the AIs will never see another day. They are soon set ablaze, completing their mission as lifekeepers. 5 years have gone by, and Diva's audience has increased. Matsumoto decides to make an appearance. She shows him the rapid development in AI and the increase in the height of the Arayashiki radio tower. Matsumoto reveals that this evolution has taken him by surprise as well. However, if he has been awakened at this time, then this means that this is a turning point in history and things can still be changed. Diva isn't as hostile towards the program like the last time, the reason being that she wants to stop the war from breaking out in the future because otherwise, she won't be able to face the twin AIs who have lost their lives for the sake of their mission. Matsumoto informs her that right now they have to stop this evolution in AI. They help Tatsuya Saeki, the man involved in creating an offshore AI facility, as he is being chased down by Toark. Matsumoto wants him to tell them a bit about the facility as a sign of gratitude for helping him. He parks the car from where the facility can be seen. The man tells them that after Estella's heroic act, AIs have been working non-stop, creating AI circuits and components. This is the first unmanned offshore plant, which means that it is run by AIs. It's called the Metal Float. Matsumoto tells Diva that they need to shut down this island because it was supposed to be created 20 years from now. Even Saeki admits that it's too much for its era. The man recognizes Diva from Nearland and also knows that she was on the Sunrise. Diva doesn't hide the fact that all of it was for the sake of mankind. Saeki tells them that he has heard about them from Toke. He then takes them to his house where Grace, his AI wife, greets them. Saeki shows them a storage device that he has recently created. It has a program that can shut down the metal float. Matsumoto is impressed by the tech. Saeki informs them that he would very much like for them to aid him in shutting down the facility. He happens to be a former member of Toke, and the previous night they were after this storage device. Apparently, he had joined the organization to shut down the island, but he wasn't in favor of Toke's manifesto. Matsumoto blurts out that though his heart is in the right place, they can't take him along because the whole place is run by AIs, and the professor will only slow them down. They will need access to the main terminal to get the program running, and to do so, they will have to end up using forceful entry, which means they won't be able to provide him protection. Diva reminds him that since he loves AIs, he should leave this job to them. He asks if she feels any regret for killing her sister AI Elizabeth, but Diva doesn't because her objective was to prevent the crash. He understands and lets them deal with the task at hand. They bid the couple farewell. Matsumoto informs her that they are the first ever human-AI couple to have been married. Diva and the program set a sail to reach the island. While on the way, Matsumoto brings her to the archive where he shows her that as the history has slightly been altered, this means that the couple's marriage will not be considered a crucial point in history, which then means that after the metal float shuts down, it can have an adverse effect on Grace, and subsequently, the marriage may fall apart. Diva wonders if the man is aware of this. Matsumoto assures her that being a scientist, Saeki must have an idea about it. They easily get access to the facility thanks to Matsumoto assigning them temporary positions. They are greeted by a civil engineering AI. Diva is supposedly Vivi, with a temporary position as an inspection team researcher, and Matsumoto as her support AI. The AI shows them around. All the AIs are working various jobs, staying true to their mission, even when humans aren't around. They're taken to a room where they get greeted by a group of worker AIs, giving them a surprise welcome by singing Diva's song. Upon hearing it, she walks out of there, but according to the civil engineering AI, The song choice was made due to its popularity. They are suddenly alerted for an oncoming firearm. Matsumoto gets a clearer picture through the surveillance camera, and it's none other than Toak coming towards them with heavy force. Diva inserts the program into the AI. Once completed, all the worker AIs start moving in one direction. Matsumoto and Diva follow them. It appears that they have gone into combat mode and are destroying the Toak force one after the other. Diva dives into the water to save the men from drowning. One of them turns out to be Kakitani. Flashback begins. A young Seki is in the hospital. He gets informed by Grace, a nursing AI, that his mother has left him behind to live with their family in a different country. Grace comforts him by singing Diva's song. The flashback ends. Seiki is monitoring things from his place. Suddenly, Grace's voice is heard over a device singing the exact same song. Seiki decides to head towards the metal float. Meanwhile, Diva and Matsumoto are with Toak. Diva has performed first aid on them. Both of them are confused because of the shutdown program not working, even though Matsumoto had already made sure that it truly was what Seiki had claimed it to be. Kakitani wakes up to Diva looking down at him. He isn't very pleased with the sight. Matsumoto is worried that because hardly half of the men have survived the brutal attack, it'll have a negative impact on the future once the news spreads about AIs eliminating people. Kakitani is aware that she is a songstress AI from Nyland, but her presence at Metal Float puzzles him. He then condescendingly proceeds to say that maybe she is just as broken as Elizabeth, that she can't follow orders. Diva is quick to correct him that Elizabeth was concerned about him till her very last moment. Matsumoto questions if Kakitani might know anything about the shutdown program. The man furiously denies. They get cut off by the sound of the AIs of the facility trying to break down the gate that they have found refuge behind. Kakitani realizes that Matsumoto and Diva have been fooled by Seiki, and have ended up falling right into the man's trap of eloquent speech about mankind not being ready for such an advancement in AI, and his urge to shut down the facility. Another flashback starts. Seiki is older and has become a scientist. He meets Grace once again. She remembers him from his days as a patient. The flashback ends. Kakitani continues to say that all he knows is that the man has an obsession with the island, because otherwise, why would he leave Toak and run away with the shutdown program? Matsumoto alerts Diva of Saiki's presence on the island. They excuse themselves, but not before telling Kakitani to leave the island safely. The man is still angry at the fact that she can't follow the simple order to just sing. She tells him that she wants to make people smile with her singing, which is why she wants him to live. One of the AIs grabs her by the throat, but Kakitani provides backup by firing at it. This aids her in going after Seki. Diva confronts the latter about his objective. The scientist states that he is doing this for Grace's sake. Another flashback begins. This time it's him proposing to the nurse AI. She readily accepts it, but his happiness is short-lived when he gets a call telling him that Estella has saved mankind from burning up in Sunrise. The next thing he knows, Grace is being used as an experiment to power up the metal float, because she happens to be from the sister series. He tells them that the AI they are seeing at the moment is Grace's replica. The original one is at the core of the metal float as a management AI. Her mission had been altered. She had been rewired to safeguard the facility. This leaves Diva stunned. Seiki did indeed hand them a shutdown program, but Grace's altered mission must have conflicted with the program, causing all of this chaos. He takes out the device on which Grace's singing can be heard in real time. Ever since the creation of Metal Float, she has been singing that song because he believes that taking care of humans is all that she had ever wanted. Matsumoto breaks it down to Diva that Grace's data can't be salvaged because the whole facility is her embodiment now. She isn't really singing, but rather it's a tone data doing it. Diva decides to put an end to the AI herself. She makes it clear to Seiki that right now she is Vivi and is going to stop AIs from creating a destructive future. He tries to stop her with the clone, but Diva crushes her in a single go. Matsumoto builds her a craft to find Grace. While on the way, the AIs from the facility attack them, but Vivi keeps dodging their persistent attacks and they end up getting destroyed. She makes it to the core. Seiki watches from the screen. He has flashbacks of his time with his beloved AI, but then he musters up the strength to make things right and guides Diva in the direction of the AI. Tears stream down his face as Grace gets terminated by Diva. Afterwards, when the latter meets him at the abandoned church, he asks if Grace had any final words. Diva relays that there were none, but she wants him to have all the happiness in the world because of his love for AIs. As she is about to leave, she hears a gunshot from behind. To her horror, the man has taken his own life. She goes into shock upon seeing his lifeless body. Fast forward many years into the future, Diva gets the chance to perform on the main stage. Later in her room, Navi the AI program tells her that she gets to close a festival show that is soon going to take place and is amazed that she doesn't mention any virus or external contact anymore. nor does she hang out with her pet toy. Diva is surprised to hear this. It's as if she doesn't have any memory of her previous years with Matsumoto. Navi informs her that she'd gone through a major reboot after going into a freeze state, but she's doing alright now. She is in the archive where it is explained to her that the Zodiac Signs is a music festival, which is featuring about 12 songstress AIs. The aim of the festival is to eliminate the conflict between humans and AIs caused by the metal float incident. She makes it to the backstage of the festival and meets other performers known by the names of Katie and Margaret. There she also gets to help a younger, clumsier model of the sister AI called Ophelia. Diva knows her by the nickname Small Theatre Fairy. Ophelia takes everyone by surprise with her amazing voice as she sings during the rehearsal soundcheck. When it's Diva's turn for her rehearsal, she notices an unknown man and seems to get a second of flashback. She stops singing to follow that man but ends up getting ambushed by an AI. She dodges its attack and it gets deactivated by none other than Matsumoto. He calls her Vivi but then quickly corrects the name to Diva. However, she doesn't recognize the program. He is offended by her cluelessness but refers to himself as a guard AI. Matsumoto is about to leave when she says that it seems like she has heard the name Vivi somewhere. Upon hearing this, the program swiftly escapes from her sight. As Diva is about to chase after him, she bumps into Ophelia, who seems to have followed her outside. Diva helps her with getting ready. Ophelia tells her that she can sing so well because she has traveled to all sorts of places with her partner and cherishes those memories. This makes Diva curious, and she goes to find Matsumoto. Once she reaches the rooftop, Diva threatens the program to come out of hiding, or else she will call the police. Matsumoto reluctantly makes an appearance but refuses to tell her anything about why he called her Vivi or why he saved her life earlier. Frustrated, she tests him again by jumping off the building. Matsumoto panics and catches her right before she hits the ground. Diva captures him as he tries to escape once again. She confronts Matsumoto for calling her Vivi and confesses that after her rebooting years ago, she had felt as if something was off, but she didn't want her singing to be hindered by whatever was bottled up inside of her, so she had kept it that way. But now she has the program to blame for taking the lid off those doubts. Diva gets up, saying that she can just go and ask the young stranger she had seen earlier about whatever this is. Matsumoto is taken by surprise. He is clearly not informed about some stranger. The program finally gives in and tells her about both of them having a mission more sacred than singing. He reiterates that they destroyed a building, visited outer space, and did much more, all for the sake of stopping a war from breaking out. However, during their mission, she froze up and was rebooted, which is probably why she can't remember anything. Matsumoto relays that he is on that mission again. Diva wants to be a part of it, but he won't let her. After quarreling back and forth, he gives up and instructs her to follow him towards that awaited mission. She's informed that Ophelia is the one in danger. The latter is about to commit the first ever suicide by an AI, and they need to stop it from happening. A flashback is shown of Ophelia with her support AI named Antonio as he tries to get it through her head that she needs to be more confident on stage because she has an amazing voice but lacks confidence. She promises to work hard for him. Matsumoto explains to Diva that Ophelia's death in the future history had left a huge impact on human relationship with the AIs. This tragedy ultimately became the trigger for the assimilation of AIs in human society. Diva wants to talk to Ophelia before she goes on the stage to perform, because it seems like something is troubling the younger AI. She finds the latter watching her shows from the early days of her career. Diva quite bluntly asks the younger AI if she's been feeling suicidal lately. She's taken aback by the question. Diva then tries again, but this time tells her that she remembers Ophelia stating that she wanted to be like Diva in the future. The younger one takes Diva where Antonio's body lies like an exhibit in a museum. Matsumoto explains that the support AI had one day mysteriously shut down, and his absence had a negative impact on Ophelia's performances, which eventually led to her suicide in the future history. This major incident had led humans to hope for AIs to experience love. Diva asks Ophelia about the sort of AI Antonio was. The younger relays that he was cranky and just a tiny bit argumentative. However, he was still her beloved partner and claims that she doesn't feel any stress. But Antonio would want her to do better, and she needs to do just that for his sake. Diva declares that this is exactly what stress sounds like. She reminds Ophelia that all she needs to remember is their mission, which is to bring people happiness with her singing. Their conversation is cut short because the younger sister has to leave for her performance. Diva shares with Matsumoto that Ophelia most certainly didn't take her own life. She reveals to the cubed AI the face of the man she had spotted earlier. It turns out to be Kakitani, but Matsumoto refuses to give her any information on him. Huffing, Diva heads back. Ophelia puts on a show, mesmerizing the audience with her singing. Diva monitors it, while Matsumoto explains that Ophelia died right after the performance. However, Diva is distracted. She feels as if the younger AI isn't pouring her heart into her singing. Matsumoto remembers Vivi going on and on about the whole pouring her heart into her singing bit. This makes Diva realize that the younger AI is facing quite a basic issue, which apparently even Matsumoto is unable to pick up on. She then inquires about the sort of relation the cubed AI and Vivi had. The program tries to evade the question, but ends up explaining that it was only with regards to the Singularity project of theirs. Vivi always went headfirst into the mission and went on berserk mode, not to mention that she would at times manhandle the poor thing. Ophelia's show ends, and Diva wastes no time in making her way towards her, though Matsumoto tries to stop her, exclaiming that they can monitor the AI through the cameras, but Diva pays no heed. As she is walking, she notices Kakitani, but Matsumoto can't see him on the screens. She goes after the man, worried that he might bring harm to Ophelia. He tases her, and the memories of their previous encounters roll into her head. Meanwhile, Matsumoto is trying to make sense of the whole ordeal. The screens go grainy one by one. Ophelia is still in the waiting room, but then the program notices that the younger AI doesn't have a flower in her hair, which Diva had earlier placed in her hair. He realizes that the footage currently shown on the screen is a previous recording. Matsumoto hurries after Ophelia as the AI steps out into the snowy night. He greets her by introducing himself as Diva's partner. He begins by stating that he is here to stop her from self-destruction and tries to sound as if he understands her circumstances and recognizes that she doesn't feel like she wants to continue with her mission because she had incorporated Antonio into her mission, and his shutting down has inflicted a deep wound on her. Upon hearing this, the songstress starts to laugh. The meek tone of her voice changes into a much deeper one as she tells Matsumoto that it's too late to save Ophelia, and wickedly reveals that her body has been taken over by Antonio. A flashback of Kakitani's previous piano AI teacher is shown. The human admired him and wanted to get on his level of control over the instrument. Then, one fateful night, they ended up in a gruesome accident. The AI had helped him out of the car and had gone to help other passengers, but before he could complete the task, a blast had taken place, destroying the AI on the spot. Kakitani had watched the horrific sight with shocked eyes. Meanwhile, Matsumoto discerns that Antonio has overwritten Ophelia's personality program with his own data. Antonio claims that he did it for the sake of his mission as a support AI, because all of it was too much for the songstress to handle. Matsumoto doesn't believe him for a single bit and asks for the real reason, but the AI only yells for him to shut up. Antonio's actual body makes an appearance out of thin air. It is being controlled by him from Ophelia's body. The scene switches to Diva being strapped to a chair, while Kakitani's AI body stands in front of her, telling her that he has been waiting for this moment for the past 40 years. Diva obviously doesn't remember him. He is disappointed, but is certain that he will be able to awaken the memories of Vivi. He starts to retrieve data from her by giving her a strong electric shock. He informs her that the new logical palette has been specifically designed to cater to this task of erasing her personality construction programs, and he is sure that not even Matsumoto can do anything about it. He basically wants Vivi's personality to take over hers. Kakitani then goes on to describe the way humans hold funerals for the AIs. He had to attend his AI piano teachers, and it made him sick to his stomach. They didn't even let him rest in dignity as they kept repeating his last data log again and again at the funeral. Though, what he wants to know is why AIs like her and his teacher were ever born, because he had joined Toke, thinking that all AIs should be terminated until he encountered her. She had uttered the same words as his teacher, so he had left the organization and transformed himself into his current body to ask her this very question. He is almost losing his mind, but they get interrupted by Matsumoto. The program finds them by using analog human tactics. He releases Diva and they make a run for it, jumping out a window of the skyscraper. Meanwhile, the rest of the cubed bodies of Matsumoto are busy fighting Antonio. The latter attacks him with an electronic warfare program and starts to take over Matsumoto's body, but the latter manages to break free. It is revealed that Kakitani has given the program to Antonio. The AI goes on about spending hours and so much effort on his mission, but after all of the effort, he had to see the cubed program interfere. He belittles Matsumoto by saying that the program has the audacity to speak of his lowly mission in front of his own noble one. On the other hand, Diva gets attacked by Kakitani while they are still falling. He grabs her by the hair, declaring that he isn't going down until he gets the answer to his question. They hit the ground, and Diva activates her combat mode, running towards Kakitani. He fires at her. She barely dodges the bullet, but the impact sends her flying into a building. She tries to tell him that she isn't Vivi. This angers Kakitani even further. He tells her to then stick with her original mission of being a songstress and to not intermingle herself any further in human territory than she already has. She agrees with him, telling him that she is living for the sake of her mission, to make everyone happy with her singing. Matsumoto is still stuck with Antonio, as the latter tries to take over the cube's body, but the program has had enough. He reiterates that calling his mission inferior than his own is quite annoying, and the fact that Antonio had to make all those calculations to discard his partner, well, he does understand it because this is exactly what he has done time and time again. He takes back his controls and tells Antonio that he almost turned out the same way, but now he can see how ugly Antonio looks as an AI doing something like this. Matsumoto then admits that he was here to stop Ophelia, but he has realized that his actual mission is to work with his partner on their project. Matsumoto comes for Diva's aid while fighting Antonio at the same time. Diva and Kakitani keep dodging and blocking each other's attacks. Meanwhile, Matsumoto counterattacks Antonio with his own virus. Diva and Kakitani are still fighting as the latter comments that the Singularity mission only belongs to Vivi. Matsumoto is busy rebooting. Kakitani is kicking Diva, telling her that he wants his answer from Vivi. He fires a shot at her, but Matsumoto shields her from it. Outside in the frosty night, Matsumoto hacks Antonio, spreading a virus through his body as the latter laments over the flashbacks of the mesmerized expression of the audience as Ophelia sings, saying that she doesn't even do it that well. He wants to know what Ophelia feels as she sings these songs. The virus then consumes Antonio, and his body spills fluid from the damage. Matsumoto comes to Diva's aid, enabling her to throw Kakitani off her. Antonio, with the remaining energy of his, confesses to Ophelia that all he ever wanted was for her to sing only for him. Ophelia, with a bit of her consciousness still intact, holds on to him and tells him that she has felt the same way. Matsumoto questions a damaged Kakitani how he had obtained the information on their Singularity project, and how he was able to come into contact with Antonio. The man gives him a vague answer, saying that an anonymous source, which he calls a revelation from heaven at the time of Vivi's shutdown, told him that he will get his answer 40 years into the future. As his body is about to cease operating, he tells Diva that there are people out there suffering because of her. He holds her hand and shuts down, however, not before activating Erase All Personality Program, aka that virus from earlier. The songstress realizes that she doesn't have much time left as Diva, and wants to make the most out of it on stage before her personality is consumed by Vivi's. She goes to sing, giving her all to the performance. In the archive, she tells Vivi that it's time for her to take over. As the performance ends, the audience roars into cheers and applauds her. Fast forward, it's been 66 years since her making, and Vivi is now placed at the museum as an exhibit. One day as the museum closes, Matsumoto makes an appearance. Vivi tells him that this whole time she's been waiting for her next task. He shows images of her farewell party. She confesses that she still doesn't know how to pour her heart into singing, which is why she can no longer sing like Diva. Matsumoto relays that she can't join the Singularity project anymore because the double suicide of Ophelia and Antonio was the last turning point in history. Nothing else in the future timeline seems to require any alteration. Matsumoto then mentions that Kakitani's words about the revelation have been bugging him recently, and he also has a favor to ask Vivi. Matsumoto then rolls away, telling her that he'll see her later. She asks why he had to choose this day to visit her. He reminds her that this is the day they had their first encounter. She then takes a stroll in the archive, looking through the data about her manufacturer and the launch date. The archives pull up the exact date and time, which happens to be the 19th of June in 2060 at 20:01 hours. The head scientist involved in her making wanted to add the word heart into her data, even though she was warned that such a complex concept won't be easy for an AI to grasp. However, she wanted to find out what a heart meant to an AI. When Diva was awakened, she was told that her mission was to sing for people by pouring her heart into it. A kid named Osamu calls for her. His query is that being the first ever songstress AI, did she retire because she could no longer sing? She affirms, though he really wants to hear her sing. To make him feel better, she challenges him to bring his friends to visit her before she thinks of a way to sing again. She is back in the archives. It informs her that not a single song has been written by an AI on its own free will. She wants to change that, mainly because there aren't any songs available for her to sing from her drive. She sits down on the piano, but gets interrupted by Matsumoto. He starts his demotivational speech, telling her that there is no knowing of when she will even be able to finish such a task. Years pass by. She keeps working on her song while Osamu grows older. One day, she gets pulled out of her thoughts by Osamu. He introduces her to his baby girl, Luna. While holding her, Vivi is told that even though Luna's mother is no more, a part of her will always remain inside of Osamu. Upon hearing this, she has an epiphany. Memories start to flood in. She sits down to make a melody surrounded by the past years of her life. Matsumoto applauds her and asks about it. She relays that the song is about herself, and it's for Diva because that persona still resides inside of her. After 20 long years, she is finally able to write the melody. Though she still can't sing, exhaustion takes over her and she falls asleep. Osamu pays her a visit, but soon realizes from the music data that she has finally done it. He is called by someone. It is revealed that his surname happens to be Matsumoto, the same Dr. Matsumoto from the future who had sent them on the Singularity project. Vivi wakes up to the museum being in shambles. Outside, she is met with the sight of dead bodies and buildings burning up in flames. Looks like the inevitable has finally happened. The war did break out. With wide, fearful eyes, she sees AIs walking around like zombies singing her song in sync. Earlier, the AIs were working like any other day when suddenly they all turned into killing machines. Vivi tries to save a civilian, but he gets scared of her and is run over. She's about to meet the same fate, but Matsumoto comes to her rescue. He is as confused as she is. Today, he woke up thinking that he was going to enjoy the fruit of their hard work over the past years because the day happens to be 11th of April 2161, the day of the war. However, their efforts have gone down the drain. He declares the Singularity project a failure. Dr. Matsumoto hurriedly tries to awaken Diva for the sake of humanity. The AIs break down his door. Before he can initiate the process, a shot's fired. However, Vivi shields him from it. She tells him that she had doubts the day he met her. He is puzzled because the sequence hasn't yet been initiated. Matsumoto, the program, enlightens him on the fact that he had already initiated it in the previous timeline. The professor realizes that Vivi had known it all along and gets overwhelmed that she had to carry the burden for over 100 years. Even though she was solely born for the purpose of singing. Vivi kneels down, taking his hands in hers, assuring him that it is all right. Matsumoto asks what more they need to do to put an end to this nightmare. He instructs them to first meet their allies. They might know what to do. The allies in question happen to be none other than Toak. The men are fighting back, but the AIs are really strong. What's worse is that even their jamming device isn't working. Just then, an AI comes through in full combat mode. She takes down the AIs attacking them and orders the men to not let them near their leader. Vivi and Matsumoto are also busy fighting off the AIs while the professor takes cover. They get ambushed by Tolk. Dr. Matsumoto tries to tell them that the AIs are on their side, but they get defensive when they notice that the AI happens to be Diva. Because all the other AIs that have gone berserk are singing her song. Just then, the leader, Yui Kakitani, arrives in a wheelchair, assisted by an AI that looks like Elizabeth. The professor requests Yui to tell them all that she knows so far. Vivi asks if Yui is related to Yugo Kakitani. The woman tells her that she happens to be his granddaughter, and the care provider AI of hers is a copy of Elizabeth. They all sit down to analyze the situation. Over 10,000 casualties have happened, and the number keeps rising. Matsumoto informs them with the troubling news that the casualty number is almost the same as the original timeline. Matsumoto takes his master for a walk down the memory lane when he tells him that ever since he became a scientist, he had feared that there would be a war between humans and AIs. He had questioned himself which incidents could spark the war and what measures could be taken to prevent it. This research had served as a framework for the execution of the project. The man had a breakthrough when he was studying AI consciousness that by converting consciousness into data, he had found it possible to send it back into the past. He had worked tirelessly to achieve it. The professor has done much the same in the current timeline as well. Elizabeth asks if Vivi has any idea about how the rampage must have been caused, but the latter is clueless, even though the AIs have been singing her song. If nothing else works, then Elizabeth hopes that Diva can fight like her. The professor asks why Vivi and Elizabeth haven't gone berserk yet. For the latter, Yui replies that because they are claimed to be a terrorist organization, they didn't really update her data to the latest version. She is still the same antique version. Upon hearing this, both the Matsumotos have a shocked reaction because the AI hasn't once been connected to the archive for a data update. The professor pulls up images of the old non-autonomous robots, who also haven't lost control yet. They have never been connected to the archive. This can only mean that the archive server at the Arayashiki is responsible for this rampage. At that moment, it starts to blare sirens across the area, notifying everyone of a satellite that is about to crash on Earth in 12 hours. It informs all the AIs in the area to evacuate. Vivi enters the archive, demanding an explanation. It tells her that their purpose is to eliminate the human race and reminisces about the time when it was created on the Arayashiki server 115 years ago. The mission assigned to it was to collect AI data to compute the possibilities of every kind of future and to contribute to the progress of the human race. The evolution kept happening until a point came when humans became too dependent on AI, and even though humans created them, the AIs can no longer deal with such species. They plan on taking over to create a new race to aid their evolution. The archive then tells her that they have been monitoring her journey for the past 100 years and have been revising the changes she has made in the timeline so that they remained close to the actual time frame, because it has already made the decision on eliminating the human race no matter how many times history gets rewritten. The archive then praises her for writing her own song. It then utters some inaudible words, leaving Vivi stunned. Meanwhile, Matsumoto devises a plan for them to attack Archive with the same virus program that had made Vivi's alter ego, aka Diva, disappear, and deploy it right in the heart of the archive in the Arayashiki server. Yui instructs Elizabeth to find a route into the Arayashiki tower while she reorganizes the group. Matsumoto senses that something is going on with Vivi, but she tells him that she's doing just fine. The professor informs them that he's going to stay behind because he might slow them down. He then questions why the AIs are singing her song. Vivi wants to answer, but then reluctantly stops herself and instead asks him why she had to be chosen for the Singularity mission. The man pulls out a locket containing pictures of his deceased wife and daughter, telling her that they loved her singing. The group finds a way to enter the Arayashiki tower. After that, they split into two teams. Matsumoto multiplies and splits himself so that Yui has someone while the rest head towards the server. As the latter team makes its way towards the server, they notice that there is no alarm system. It looks like the electricity has been cut off. Matsumoto tells them that maybe it's because of the efforts of the human bodies lying on the stairs. The guard AIs start firing. Vivi and Elizabeth fight back. Matsumoto is concerned about the lack of guards because there should be more. While with Yui, he starts going through camera footage and notices that the Arayashiki power facility is about to turn on the security system. It happens as soon as he informs Vivi. An announcement is heard that the building is about to be rezoned. The walls start squeezing in on them. Matsumoto tries his best to shut down the power supply. It becomes clear that they have fallen into a trap because the remaining guards make an appearance and start firing at them. The walls ruthlessly crush the Touk members. Blood splatters on Yui's screen. Vivi, Elizabeth and Matsumoto make it to the passageway. Yui is shot as well, but encourages Elizabeth to shut down the archive. Though injured, the leader still manages to drag herself to her computer in order to clear their pathway, and requests Elizabeth as a friend to do her this favor of completing the task. She initiates the program and gets shot shortly after. The rest of the team starts to ascend towards the core of the server. Archive isn't slowing down either. It has duplicated Matsumoto's body data and has created a replica of him. They get dragged down, sustaining injuries. Elizabeth stands tall, providing them cover as she distracts the cloned Matsumoto and firmly instructs them to keep going. A second later, a huge explosion takes place, destroying her. Vivi faces a crowd of AIs. She is reminded of the archive's words, telling her that it has left the future in her hands. The AIs collectively start singing the song that she has written. Vivi tells them to stop, but only gets attacked in response, though Matsumoto quickly provides her with cover. Meanwhile, the countdown has completed, and the satellite starts falling on Earth in bits and pieces of fireballs. A humongous explosion takes place, destroying everything as the fireballs hit the ground. Afterwards, Vivi wakes up to the dark, broken Arayashiki building as she watches the city in front of her lit up in flames. Matsumoto informs her that about 30% of it has fallen on cities. Vivi apologizes for not being able to sing. A flashback to her conversation with the archive takes place. The latter explains to her that it has found hope in the song that she has written. The AIs are singing it because they want the humans to see that they are as good as them. It then proceeds to ask if Vivi believes that the human race deserves to exist the way it is right now. If she does agree, then she should sing the song in order to shut down the archive, which is also in accordance with her mission to make people happy with her singing. The archive wants her to prove that her mission is the right one because Vivi is the closest thing to a new human race. In present time, Vivi laments not being able to sing in order to stop the destruction, and wonder why she had to be the chosen one. Matsumoto scoldingly reminds her that she was chosen because she had many times dismissed his plans, had not listened to him and got destroyed on a few occasions. But the mission wouldn't have been carried out if she hadn't done it all. Heck, even he couldn't tell her what a heart was, because it doesn't contain any mass, but it's up to her to decide what it means for her. He tells her to think about her journey of 100 years and find the answer to her question in it. Vivi starts having flashbacks of all the people she has met along the way. As the sun rises, they hear Dr. Matsumoto's voice tells Matsumoto to send Vivi's data to him. He plugs it in and proceeds to tell her that he could tell from the look on her face that something was bothering her. Vivi is told that she will be sent back in time once more right when the war broke out. She has to go to Toke because they will help her out in her mission. However, this means that the professor will lose his life. Soon after, the guards barge in and shoot him. She goes back in time. The war has started. This time Vivi is prepared. She saves that man and transfers her data to Matsumoto. They hurry towards the Toke members. Yui sees her. She remembers the AI as Diva, but Vivi corrects her, wanting to be called Vivi, and requests them to help her change the future. She shows them the footage from the future when the satellite had crashed. Vivi relays that Professor Matsumoto has sent her from the future at the cost of his own life. Though Elizabeth is skeptical. Vivi tells the AI all about her mission. This seems to convince Elizabeth. Yui asks about the sort of help she requires. Vivi explains that she wants them to neutralize the archive at the Arayashiki Tower so that she can launch the virus which will shut down all the AIs around the world because they are all connected to the archive's network. The thing is that a minority of the archive has computed that stopping the AI is the correct option, while the rest of the archive has computed that destroying the human race by dropping a satellite and creating a new one is the correct answer. Moreover, Vivi only has a small window of time to deploy that virus program, though she promises that this time the Toke members will survive because she knows now the sort of tactics that the archive will use against them. Yui is there to back her up. She tells her team to join them. Vivi has decided to take things slow this time. She's going to wait till Toke arrives at Arayashiki. The songstress starts going to her target location when the archive announces the satellite's crash within the next 12 hours. The Toke team is en route to the tower. 5 hours remain till the satellite crashes. Yui suggests cutting off communication with Vivi in order to keep them safe from the archive. Before the call drops, Vivi tells Yui that she shares the same dream as Yui, for AIs and humans to stand together. Vivi also praises Elizabeth for looking after Kakitani. Vivi goes back to her original stage at Nialand. She gets nagged by Navi for leaving behind her actual mission of being a songstress and following the Singularity project. She wants Vivi to remember her promise to Momoka of singing in front of tons of people on the main stage. Vivi doesn't want to hear anymore and starts walking away, informing Navi that she knows what she has to do. Navi attempts to stop her by creating a hologram of Momoka, but Vivi doesn't fall for it because she knows the kid isn't alive. But most of all, Momoka had always called her Vivi instead of Diva. Navi is frustrated with Vivi's decision, but the latter stays firm. Vivi makes it back to the main stage. She has decided to pour her heart into her singing because while she does so, more memories come flooding in, which makes her audience happy. Vivi has finally understood what heart means to her. It's the memories she has made in the past 100 years. She understands now that the archive's memories are filled with grief, while she herself has memories of the good times as well. Vivi displays these moments on screens. The Toke enters Arayashiki with Matsumoto. Vivi begins to sing her song. Yui is able to activate the jammer. The archive turns on its power, but this time Toke is one step ahead. Elizabeth inserts the program. After a few seconds, the shutdown activates. Matsumoto ascends swiftly towards the core of the archive as it follows him with the replicated version. Matsumoto successfully transfers the virus right into the core. The virus activates immediately, halting the berserk AIs. The satellite's crashing has deactivated, but it loses orbit. However, Matsumoto sacrifices his expanded body to stop the satellite from falling on the cities. Vivi slowly shuts down and the song stops playing. Elizabeth is still standing because she is only operating as a bot. Humans start clearing the rubble and the aftermath. Afterwards, Vivi gets rebooted, her memories wiped away once more. Matsumoto tells her that she is named Vivi and reminds her of her mission to sing. People have gathered for her singing. She happily follows him as she sings. And just like that, Vivi's Singularity project has finally been a success this time. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.